What is up, Dog Pound? We are back for another Cleveland Browns video collaboration. I know I haven't been doing very well with these, and there's my dog already barking that she wants to come in. Great start to the video. Ay, ay, ay. The joys of live TV. Go on. What are you going to do? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right. Take two. Oh yeah. So this is the SportsRoom talk show. This is where I do all my video collaborations. Obviously, I haven't really been keeping up with those, but anyway, we're getting back into it. It's Browns against the Dolphins. It is the 3-5 Cleveland Browns. That's against the 6-3 Miami Dolphins. There we go. And there's a storyline that I wish had panned out coming into this game, but the NFL had other ideas. Because if you remember, for like 2 or 3 years, Deshaun Watson was rumored to be going to Miami, right?
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah. So, I thought about this, yesterday, really, and I'm like, oh, that could have been a good storyline. Like, if Deshaun was playing in this game and having Tua and Deshaun, standing across from each other on the sidelines. So, what do you think about that whole thing? Do you think that would have been a major storyline going into this game if it had played out that way?
Yeah, 100%. I think because the fact that Tua had to push through that whole adversity, like you said, it was a while. It was off season through the season up to the trade deadline. It was Dolphins are, Monday, supposedly the trade's going to happen Monday, and it was constant. And Tua had to deal with it. So, yeah, I think it would have been a huge storyline if it was Deshaun Watson versing Tua Tagovailoa. It would have been for some must-see TV for sure.
Yeah. The other thing is, I actually predicted this game would happen week 1, forgetting the suspension for a minute, because it would have been 2 of the biggest trade acquisitions going against each other. Sure, Deshaun Watson and Tyreek Hill wouldn't have been going against each other at the same time because, Tyreek plays wide receiver and Deshaun is quarterback. But still, I think that would have been fascinating.
And even if he was playing, say his suspension was still only 6 games, it still would have been a huge trade acquisition versus another one with Bradley Chubb versus Deshaun Watson now. So yeah, I could see either week 1 or if Deshaun wasn't suspended, it would have been huge to see what Bradley Chubb could do against Deshaun Watson versus Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, and this is going to be Bradley Chubb's home debut for the Dolphins because he made his debut last week against Chicago, which we have a similar offense to Chicago. We're a very run-heavy team.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we saw how well Chicago did against you defensively. So, does that worry you at all that you're going up against another run-heavy team?
What worries me is how good Nick Chubb is. Because if you look at what the Bears did, a lot of their yards were Justin Fields scrambling. Like that 160-yard touchdown run, he got pressure on him, scrambled up the middle, took it 60 yards for a touchdown. You negate Justin Fields rushing, the Dolphins shut down Herbert and their other running back. But to me, Nick Chubb is just in a different world. So, the Dolphins before that game against the Bears were 6th in the NFL in run defense. But my biggest fear is because Jacoby Brissett's Jacoby Brissett. I know how he plays. He played for the Dolphins last year for a couple games. If you guys can get that run game going, all of a sudden that opens up a lot. And the Dolphins secondary is banged up. So to me, Nick Chubb is the big deciding factor in who wins this game.
Okay. Yeah, that is. I didn't even think about that, but this is a little bit of a revenge game for Jacoby Brissett. Now that you mentioned that, I honestly did not even think about that.
Yeah, because he played a couple games for us. He wasn't good. I'll just put it like that. Against the Texans, he was all right, but I think that game was like a 12-10 win. It was horrible. But most of the season, he was very slow in his processing, and he was killing me. So I'm seeing, though, he's doing much better for you guys in the Browns. So that's good to see. But yeah,
Relatively, anyway.
yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a big game to see. There's a lot of head-to-head matchups that are going to be interesting, like Chubb versus Chubb, and then Jacoby Brissett versus his old team. There's a lot of stuff that is very intriguing about this game.
Yeah, we've seen like Denzel Ward against Tyreek Hill. That usually is a good matchup from what we saw when Tyreek was in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Myles Garrett against Tua, not to discredit your offensive line by any means, but Myles Garrett is going to get past your offensive line at least a couple times.
Oh yeah, that's my biggest fear, because Teron Armstead is getting healthy as the weeks go on,
right?
And he's good. Like, Teron Armstead is a top 10 left tackle in the NFL, but Myles Garrett's pretty flipping good. So it's like you could just take him and put him on the right side, and all of a sudden he's facing Ben Stills, who's not very good, and all of a sudden that's to his blind side. And also, you guys have Jadeveon Clowney. Your edges scare the crap out of me. Your defensive tackles, not so much, but your edges scare the crap out of me.
Yeah. The defense as a whole for the Browns, there have been so many games this season where I'm just like, Joe Woods, can you pack your bags, leave the Browns facility, and never come back? Because I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, against the Jets.
Oh, my God.
How do you have a blown coverage that bad against the Falcons? Atlanta in the second half just said, screw it. We're just going to start running the ball.
I feel it, especially against that Jets game. I thought you guys had that one. I stopped watching. I was like, all right, good. Jets are going to lose. And all of a sudden, I'm like, how the flip did they win?
I couldn't even watch most of that game because, unfortunately, I had to deal with my grandma's funeral that day. So that day was like a double-edged sword.
I can imagine.
But yeah, like the fact that I've had so many issues with Joe Woods defensively, and now we have to face Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki. I'm just like, what? Oh, good God, why?
And Tua's on fire too. Tua's been playing real good the past. If when he starts and finishes a game, the Dolphins are 6-0. Like, he's a big benefactor to why the Dolphins are so successful. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. And they're home. I think that's the biggest thing. The Dolphin defense plays different when they're home. They tend to struggle on the road. So they forced the Vikings to punt 10 times, the most by any defense this season. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this game pans out.
Yeah, I don't think you guys will have as much of a weather advantage.
No, it's going to be like 80.
Time of year.
Yeah, it's not going to be that bad.
Right. It's not going to be like the type of weather advantage you guys had against Buffalo early in the season.
Yeah.
So it should be relatively, in that sense, at least, an even playing field.
Mm-hmm. It just so happens that they built the stadium so that the away team roasts.
Yeah. I actually went to a Dolphins game a couple years ago against the Jaguars. Dolphins lost. I think it was Tannehill who was still quarterback for you guys. So
you sit on the away side? Never sit on the away side.
I don't remember whose side I was on. But anyway, so what do you think of the Browns offense? Like, do you feel like the way we play offense favors the Dolphins defense or not?
The only thing that I think favors the Dolphins when it comes to facing the Browns is the way Jacoby Brissett plays and how he takes like that extra second to get the ball out. The Dolphins pass rush before they got Bradley Chubb was very good at getting after the quarterback, but our corners were so, inexperienced outside of Xavier Howard that they got that extra second they needed before the pass rush got to him. So I think with Jacoby Brissett taking that extra second to get the ball out benefits the Dolphins. But my biggest fear, besides Nick Chubb, is Amari Cooper versus Xavier Howard, because the last time they faced off, Cooper took Xavier Howard's lunch money, and he doesn't look like the Xavier Howard that had 10 interceptions. So to me, if the Dolphins pass rush and Bradley Chubb and Melvin Ingram and Jalen Phillips and Emmanuel Ogbah can't get after Jacoby Brissett and make his day hard, it's going to be a long day, because I don't know if Xavier Howard can shut down Amari Cooper.
Right. It's tough with knowing what type of game we're going to get from Amari Cooper, because that's so dependent on Jacoby Brissett. Like you said, he does like to take that extra second. And I've been watching some of these games, and I'm like, dude, you have a guy wide open. Just throw the ball. Like, no, I'm going to take this extra second. I'm like, no.
That was all last year for us Dolphin fans. He'd have Jalen Waddle wide open, and he'd look at him, and then Jalen Waddle would start running towards him, and then he would throw the ball. I'm just like, just plant your back foot and let it rip. Like, what are you waiting for? It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Very frustrating.
That's what I'm worried about with your offense. I know Tyreek Hill has been the absolute difference maker for you guys.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong on that, but I'm more worried about Jalen Waddle.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's not to discredit Tyreek in any size, shape, or manner, whatever. But for some reason, there's just something about Jalen Waddle where I'm just like, okay, he scares me a little bit more.
So I agree 100%. Tua and Tyreek Hill, they've been connecting. Obviously, his 1,100 receiving yards. We're halfway through the season. He might break the single season receiving yard record.
I could see that happening.
But they don't have that connection, right? Because I've noticed on a lot of deep passes, Tua still can't figure out Tyreek's speed. So he should let the ball go like a second earlier, but he lets it go a little late. So a lot of times Tyreek has to come back for the ball because he doesn't have that connection. Jalen Waddle and Tua have been playing together for years. They have that connection. He knows where to put it, when to put it, how to put it, and Hill's going to get it. Look at the touchdown pass against the Ravens that got us the lead. That ball was to only where Waddle can get it on the move. It was a beautiful pass. So I 100% agree with you. A lot of people look at Tyreek, but Jalen Waddle has that connection with Tua that in critical situations, Tua's going to go to Waddle.
Oh, yeah. And it's all the fact that you guys also have a very good tight end in Mike Gesicki. Like, we've struggled defensively against tight ends historically. So I feel like maybe Tyreek has a little bit of a backseat in this game, and the Dolphins lean more on Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki.
I'm hoping that because against the Bears and against the Lions, the Dolphins were scoring quick. And obviously that's something nice to see, keep putting scorers on the board. But it hurt the defense in the way that the opposing offense, which was beating our defense, was constantly on the field. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of slow it down a little bit, because Jeff Wilson has been running, his debut last week against Chicago. He runs hard. I didn't know much about Jeff Wilson, and then watching him run, he runs hard. So I wouldn't be surprised if they ran the ball more in this game and try to keep your offense off the field because of how dynamic Nick Chubb is.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into, even though we know how high flying your offense is, you guys put up 35 points last week against the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of agree with you. I feel like this is not going to be a high scoring affair. Although before the bye week, we put up 32 points on Monday Night Football against Cincinnati. I'm just like, okay, where has this been all freaking year? What the hell?
You guys exposed the Bengals in that game. Once they didn't have Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow looked like a different person. Yeah,
I know. I was at that game, and I'm like, okay, where has this team been all year? Like, do I need to go into like Doctor Who mode or whatever and become a detective to try and find them? What the hell? Yeah. Like, Joe Woods' defense actually played well?
Yeah.
The offense actually doing shit? What is this?
Continuity? What's going on here?
Exactly. Like, all three phases actually played good football?
on and in the national television. Like you weren't just playing at 1 o'clock just so your state can see it. You used to play it, the nation saw it, and made a lot of people change their minds about Cleveland.
Yeah. Going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, I bet you that if Deshaun Watson was eligible to play in this game, the Browns would probably have a better record than 3-5.
100%. Yeah.
But on top of that, I bet you the NFL would have been like, okay, let's flex out Chargers at 49ers and let's flex in Browns at Dolphins into Sunday Night Football. Not just because like of the records, but like what we were talking about at the beginning of Deshaun against Tua and all that. I would have loved to have heard those press conferences between the two. Like Deshaun, how do you feel about playing against the team that almost traded for you? And like Tua, how do you feel about playing against the quarterback that your team almost traded for to replace you? I would have loved to have heard those press conferences.
They would have said, some politically correct, like, oh, I'm just going to go play my best game. And then I don't care who's across the field from me. But that the both of them are going to try to, drive up that score just to prove a point,
Yeah. That's why, I know the NFL did it. The NFL totally did it on purpose to have his suspension go into the Houston game because of the storylines of he's making his debut against his former team and whatnot in Houston. I would have liked it if his suspension had been over so he could play in this game.
That would have benefited you guys. The Dolphins have a hard time against mobile quarterbacks, so it definitely would have benefited you guys if Deshaun played this week.
Right. And like I said, I think the storylines would have been far more interesting.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So I actually wrote a whole article about that for Dog Pound Daily, which is the fan side page I write for, dedicated to the Browns.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Because I don't know if many people would are talking about that whole aspect of, if Deshaun was playing, everything we discussed. But in terms of the home field, you said it, we kind of discussed this already, but I don't think the weather's really going to play a factor.
No, and I live up in Jersey, right? I don't live down in Miami. And every year, me and my father, who's a huge Dolphin fan, we go down for a home game once a year. And we always choose November because you go in September or October in Miami, it's hot, especially in September. You said, that Bills game it affected both teams. We dealt with so many injuries in that Bills game. So did the Bills. But around this time, it's still hot, but it's not unbearable. I think like I said, it's going to be 81-ish. But when you're sitting on that away side, it's hot. There's about 10% of the stadium that's hit by the sun, and it's the away side. When you get on the field, it's not, you're not going to be feeling it as much because you're going to be in the shade. But when you go sit on your bench, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it.
Okay, so you said you live up in Jersey. How did you get to be a Dolphins fan then?
So my dad was born in 1965, and he grew up during the time when the Dolphins were one of the greatest football teams in the NFL, AFL, then NFL. And he grew up, 72, he was 7, and then through the 80s, he was in his 20s. So he learned and he loved the Dolphins. So then I grew up, I was born, my father, a diehard Dolphins fan. I watched his love for the team, and then I got to watch Dan Marino. I was born in 87. And that's where my love for the team came, because I grew up during a time where the Dolphins were the dominant team in the AFC, Dolphins and the Bills. And then unfortunately, when I hit the age of 13, 14, the Dolphins stopped becoming dominant for the 2000s up until now. So, I picked a good team at first, but then I've been stuck in mediocrity for a pretty long time.
You want to be talking about being stuck in mediocrity?
I know, right? How did you become a Browns fan?
I've lived in Cleveland my whole life, and I basically didn't have a choice.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes I question. Sometimes I'm like, should I have just chosen to have been a fan of a different team in the AFC?
And it's funny too, because you couldn't even have said like I'll go with Cincinnati because they're in the same boat.
Exactly. Exactly. But I'm just like, you want to talk about mediocrity? We had freaking 0-16.
At least we had one, we got that one win in 2007. So we never got the O. But yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are going to be looking for a little bit of revenge against us because we beat you the last time we played each other in 2019.
Mm-hmm. I think that was Jarvis's revenge game.
Yeah.
And yeah, you guys did. He did pretty well in that game.
It feels weird that we don't have Jarvis anymore.
That's how I felt for a while. And I don't even think he's really playing for Cincinnati, for the Saints. I think he's injured.
You might be right.
Which sucks. He's a good, reliable, slot receiver. I was surprised they took him in the draft when they did.
Yeah. I think he would have played very well with Amari.
Mm-hmm.
That might have benefited the offense because, like, other than Amari Cooper, yeah, we have David Njoku at tight end, and yeah, we have Donovan Peoples-Jones, but I'm like, where's the passing game? Like, sometimes I feel like the Browns are too dependent on the run game. Like, I know we have a Nick Chubb who's an all-world running back. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, and no, we don't have, like, a Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill combination. I get it. But still, I'd like to see us be I don't want us to go completely away from the run game. But still, like, I want to see them utilize Amari Cooper a little bit more, utilize Donovan Peoples-Jones a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. It was like that for a while with Miami with the passing game. We had the first 2 years that Tua came into the league, he didn't have anything really good around him.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel you. I definitely feel you on your passing game.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel has made a world of difference for you guys. Like, he's come in and he basically brought the San Francisco offense to Miami. Granted, he had to make a variation of it because he has basically a track team at wide receiver.
And he's utilizing it. When he came with the team, his first press conference, they asked him, because if you look at him, right, he's not that quintessential head coach where he's gonna like scream at you and grab your face mask and stuff. So they asked him, like, well, what are you going to do to motivate these guys to listen to you, of all people? He said, I'm just going to put them in a position where they can be successful, and then they'll trust me when they see that I know how to put them in positions to be successful. And you look at Tua, you look at Tyreek Hill, you look at Jalen Waddle, you look at all these guys on the offense, they're thriving because he knows how to scheme for them. So now they're listening to him.
Right. And sometimes I wonder if Kevin Stefanski is doing the same thing. Like I said earlier, like, I want to see a little bit more from Amari Cooper. I want to see a little bit more from Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like, is Kevin Stefanski scheming, the best game plan for that?
Yeah.
Do you think Kevin Stefanski is on the hot seat for the Browns, or is it too early to say that?
It's hard to say, because in the NFL, you need that instant success unless it's already known what your plan is. And I don't know if necessarily he's on the hot seat yet. I think the fact that you guys don't have Deshaun playing probably saves him for this season. So say you guys end up having a losing record and miss the playoffs, which bringing Deshaun back, if you guys can, you're only 3-5. You said 3-6.
3-5 because we had our bye week last week.
So you're not that bad off. And with Deshaun coming back next week, you guys can really salvage your season. But say you end up having a losing season, I don't think he gets fired, just because the fact he didn't have the quarterback he traded for.
Right.
Then next year, I think if it's the same situation where the offense and the passing game struggles, I think then you'll see him being on the hot seat.
Okay. Yeah. Because in these next 3 games before Deshaun comes back, we've got you guys in Miami. Next week, we're at Buffalo. And then we come home and play Tom Brady.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, What? In order to give the Browns a realistic chance to do something with Deshaun Watson, they have to win at least two of these 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Buffalo is dealing with the Josh Allen injury, the most realistic places I could see the Browns possibly winning are against you guys in Miami and in week 12, I believe that is, against Tampa Bay.
Mm. Yeah. Brady's not the same Brady anymore. A lot of people even question if he should have unretired. So yeah, I don't see how, that game against Tampa Bay is very winnable for you guys.
Right. And to say that this game is winnable for us is not a discredit to the Dolphins at all in any size, shape, or manner. Because I know you guys have a track team. We discussed all that, but I just feel like it's somewhat of a favorable matchup for us going against you guys. Because like you said, you think the Dolphins are going to run the ball more, and that could favor us because we like those low scoring games, like a 24-17 type of game. We put up the 32 points against Cincinnati on Monday Night Football in week 8, but that doesn't really fit what we do offensively.
Yeah, 100%.
Whereas, when we play Buffalo next week, I don't think we stand a chance against the Bills, given Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Singletary, everything the Bills have.
Yeah.
That's why I would say you guys are the more favorable matchup.
Yeah, makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
Yeah. But I think this is going to be a very good game on Sunday. I don't think Miami's going to blow us out. I don't think we're going to blow out the Dolphins. But I'm an objective Browns fan. I'm not always going to say the Browns are going to win if I honestly don't think they're going to. I just think you guys have a little too much offensive firepower with Gesicki, Jeff Wilson, Tyreek Hill, and of course Jalen Waddle. So I'll say Miami comes away with a close 3-point victory, which I think is actually the spread for this game.
I think so too. I think it's 3.5 around there. Yeah, I don't think it's big.
I'll say around 24-21 Dolphins.
I was close. I said 28-24 Dolphins. So we're both in the same ballpark where it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, the past few times these teams have played, it's been a close game. It has not been a blowout really either way.
Yeah,
for sure. I don't know how much of the game I'm going to be able to watch because I actually am going to the Cavs game tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Against Minnesota, so that should be fun. Although Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen are both questionable, so dang it. But we'll see. But thank you so much for taking some time out of your night. I understand that you have a bit of a tight schedule, so I really appreciate you taking some time to talk about this game with me and preview this matchup. I very much appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, definitely, but it was a lot of fun. I look forward to doing this again.
Yeah, maybe we can do some type of post-game video on Monday or something.
Sure.
All right. I will talk to you later.
All right, sounds good.